Have you noticed that over the past generation or two, how housing has become increasingly unaffordable to the majority of the working and middle class? The interesting observation is that this is no longer limited to the major urban cities like New York, but has become a global phenomenon. Have you ever wondered what is driving the increase in house prices? Well, we went out and investigated the root causes, and in this video, we provide a completely new perspective in 3 parts. In part 1, we finally bring clarity to the underlying drivers of the house price increase. In part 2, we disclose the parties that benefit and that have a vested interest in keeping house prices high. And finally, in part 3, we also cover what the implications are for society. Not good. And stay to the end, as it's an interesting reveal. Part 1. The continued rise in house prices. Back in the 60s, a single earning household could easily afford to buy their own home. Fast forward 65 years, and even 2-income households are struggling to afford their own house. So what is driving house price increases? Are we running out of land? Only sort of. The rise in house prices is, in part, driven by increased land and construction costs. The construction industry faces a chronic labor shortage, which drives up wages and slows project timelines. Building materials have also been volatile and trending upwards. And with the recent tariffs announced by the US, these costs will simply continue to rise. Now, with that out of the way, let's discuss the darker drivers of house price increases. In reality, new technology and ability to build higher should offset these increased construction costs over time. So it's questionable how much impact this really has on house prices on the long run. The second constraint on construction is the vested interest of existing homeowners and other action groups who actively canvass for rules to protect existing land use, natural landscapes, and other causes. This ultimately results in more strict zoning laws, permitting, and land use, which result in less building and often protracted delays. The NIMBY, not in my backyard advocates, are basically constricting supply, which results in less dense and affordable housing being built. Not only does this negatively impact first home buyers and lower income earners, but the constricted supply actively benefits the existing NIMBY homeowners as they see their own property prices rise. The more NIMBYs constrict supply, the more they are rewarded with high home prices. The third constraint on construction was the 2008 crisis, which did more than just cause a cyclical downturn in construction. It led to a structural degradation of the home building industry's capacity. This has led to a persistent skills and capacity gap from which we have not yet fully recovered. The fourth constraint includes the lock-in effect, golden handcuffs. A more recent phenomenon constraining the supply of existing homes is the reluctance of current homeowners to sell. Many homeowners secured historically low mortgage rates in recent years. In an environment of higher interest rates, moving would require them to finance a new home at a significantly higher rate. This financial disincentive keeps existing inventory off the market. Now for the demand side. How has the demand for new houses changed over the past few decades? Firstly, demographics. There are simply more people on the planet who are increasingly choosing to live in urban or semi-urban areas. The entry of the large millennial generation into their prime first-time home buying years, typically ages 25 to 34, has created an enormous surge in demand. In the US, there are now more than 18% more people in this key age bracket than there were in 2006, at the peak of the last housing boom. This demographic tailwind has provided a steady and powerful stream of new buyers entering the market. Living longer. A key driver of the demographic changes has been the aging of the population. As large cohorts like the baby boomers live longer, they increasingly occupy housing that in past generations would have rotated to the younger generation quicker. Seniors are often aging in place, which slows the turnover of existing homes. Changing lifestyles. As over the past few decades, as women entered the workforce, married couples were injected with more purchasing power. This new money quickly capitalized into even higher home prices as buyers used the extra income to bid against each other for the same limited number of homes. Later, as women cemented their financial independence, we observed the divorce rate skyrocket, causing families to break and split, resulting in increased demand for housing as we moved from a one house per family to two house per family model as the wife and husband began living separately. This was further impacted by the increased trend to delay or avoid marriage completely, resulting in a significant increase in single-person households. This trend towards smaller household sizes means more individual units are needed to house the population. Surging immigration further contributed to the shortage of housing as economic migrants from the developing world migrated en masse to the Western world, further creating demand for an already constrained housing supply. Another critical and often underreported impact has been government's monetary and interest rate policy. Post the global financial crisis, governments and central banks intentionally reduced interest rates costs to decade lows, increasing the monetary supply, which significantly reduced the cost of borrowing. Lower mortgage payments increased the purchasing power of buyers, allowing them to afford higher-priced homes and fueling intense market competition. Rising home prices create a public and political affordability crisis. In response, governments face immense pressure to act. The most politically expedient solutions are often demand-side subsidies, such as homebuyer tax credits or down payment assistance. These policies inject more purchasing power into an already overheated market. This new money is quickly capitalized into even higher home prices as buyers use the subsidy to bid against each other for the same limited number of homes. Another side effect of the government's poor handling of the global financial crisis and the lowering of interest rates led to large institutional funds having to look for new sources of income and yield. This has introduced a new and powerful source of demand: institutional investors, private equity firms, and ultra-wealthy investors. In the U.S., these large investors now own hundreds of thousands of single-family homes, a sector they entered at scale by purchasing foreclosed properties in bulk after the 2008 crisis. These corporate buyers possess significant competitive advantages over traditional owner-occupant home buyers. They frequently make all-cash offers, which are more attractive to sellers and can close transactions quickly by waiving common contingencies such as inspections and financing approvals. They also leverage sophisticated technology and algorithms to analyze markets, identify target properties, and manage large, dispersed portfolios efficiently. Now for the last and final driver of home price increases is also consistent and persistent inflation that is perpetuated by the governments and central banks. Their systematic underrepresentation of the real inflation rate has resulted in workers getting below inflation-adjusted wage increases, while real assets like houses have increased in price in accordance to the real inflation rate. So this has meant that over time, workers are simply earning less in real terms, while houses have retained their real value. Therefore, all things being equal, house prices are simply more expensive to workers who have seen the real wages stagnate or fall over the past few decades. Part 2. So, who benefits from the rise in house prices? First on the list of beneficiaries is the government. Most government tax their population through housing or land taxes. The higher the value, the higher the amount of tax to be paid. So, high home prices equals more tax income for the government. Second on the list are banks, as most homes are purchased with a mortgage. The higher the amount of the mortgage, the higher the amount of interest the bank will earn over the life of the loan, which means higher profits. Third on the list is institutional funds and private equity, who now invest and earn fees on this low-risk investment vehicle, which has bond-like characteristics, but limited risk in a supply-constrained environment. Finally, existing homeowners benefit from the price of their house price increase. This is somewhat illusionary, as we all need a place to stay. Therefore, they are not really able to benefit from the increase in house prices until they sell. However, they then need to reinvest their money on existing expensing housing stock, somewhat mitigating their benefit from the increase in house prices. As you can see, all the parties above have an active and direct incentive to keep prices as high as possible. This includes the government due to property taxes, institutional investors and banks due to the high and low-risk income, and finally, existing older homeowners who have seen their assets appreciate in value. Part 3, what does this all mean and what are the implications? The major implications are twofold. First, the high cost of housing is a major and significant obstacle to household formation. In other words, young people postpone marriage and having children because they can't afford adequate housing. This is leading to a significant and serious demographic decline in all major economies. The other major implication is the significant increase in mortgage debt across the economy. Householders are stretched and are having to spend an increasingly larger amount on mortgage interest due to the large loans made to purchase their properties. This diverts potential consumer spending on other sectors of the economy, resulting in a smaller, more concentrated economy which is more prone to crisis than a more robust and diverse economy. The banking sector has also become more risky as housing prices and mortgages have exceeded affordability metrics and are increasingly just a whisker away from another global financial crisis as large mortgage balances need to be written off.
If you like these insights, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, let us know in the comments below if you'd like us to delve deeper into the potential solutions to house pricing problem and potential events that may trigger the next housing price crash.